And we, again, we're going to do the same thing. If you have comments, please put questions in the chat box so that we can make sure that she can answer those. And she also is going to be posing some questions to you throughout her presentation. So with that, I'm turning it over to Meg.
Hey, wonderful. Hello, everyone. So let's see if I can manage this technology. Can you all see the PowerPoint?
Got it.
All right, excellent. So I was glad that I joined in to hear Bill's presentation because I think a lot of it really applies to what I'm going to be talking about, although I'm really drilling down into single-use plastics, something rather specific, but a lot of what Bill talked about in terms of water quality and clean air, I think you'll see kind of peppered through this presentation how much the topic of single-use plastics really impacts all of that. Let's see. There we go. So really quickly, first, before we get into single-use plastics, I want to tell you just a little bit about the Howard County Conservancy for those that have not visited. We are a small local nonprofit. We are on 232 acres in Woodstock, Mount Pleasant Farm. We offer our programs at Mount Pleasant and also on the eastern side of the county at Belmont Manor and Historic Park in Elk Ridge. And combined, we see about 30,000 folks a year through our school programs and our public programs. We also have 5 miles of trails. It used to be 4, but we got some great news. We did some trail additions, and now we're up to 5 miles of trails over at Mount Pleasant Farm that are open to the public, dawn to dusk, 7 days a week, and our trails are still open. We have not closed down access to our trails at all. Of course, our nature center is closed, our buildings are closed, but we're really thrilled to see people outside connecting with nature and enjoying everything that the outside world has to offer. So please consider visiting if you're looking to get outside for a hike. And this year's our 30th anniversary. It's kind of turned our plans on their head a little bit, but we're still really looking for ways to celebrate this really important milestone for our organization. Okay, now this is what's really going to test my technology. I need to share a video. Let's see. Bear with me. Oh boy.
While Meg is getting the video up, it may help if you all turn your video off because of the streaming and the amount of access that you have. If you don't have super high connectivity into your home and you have other people using it, you may want to turn your video screen off just so that you get that extra little thing to allow you to see the video, her video well.
Okay, Stacy, can you see this screen? The green screen of the video? Not to point.
I still see the PowerPoint video. So you're not sharing the right screen yet. If you minimize your PowerPoint video and PowerPoint screen.
Let's see. Well, okay, let's try this again. Maybe I can just play it through the PowerPoint.
Be kind and gentle with us all. Technology is our friend.
I even practiced this.
Yep.
I don't know, why does it say my screen sharing is paused? I haven't seen that message before. Resume share, how about that?
Yep.
No.
Meg, you have the video open on your desktop?
Yes.
Okay. So when you go to share your screen, the little arrow, does it give you a choice of which window you want to share?
It does. It does not show the desktop though.
It does not show the desktop. Okay. Do you have the video open on your screen? Like,
I do.
you have it open and you're not able to select it from your share screen button?
I do not see that. Let me just go back to the PowerPoint, and if we have to skip the video, that's okay.
I can send the video out to everybody to watch.
Yeah, when I go back to the PowerPoint, it says your screen sharing is paused.
Okay, so let's stop share and then go back in and share again.
So I stopped share and now I'm saying share screen.
Yeah.
And I select the PowerPoint and I say share and it says your screen sharing is paused.
Okay, I can Meg's video.
Resume share. Can you see that now?
You see your slides.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to, we can just go back to the slides.
Yep.
Okay. It was embedded in the slide, but I was told it played too slow. So let's just see if we try this. Does that work?
Yep.
Yes.
But we probably don't get sound.
There's not much sound right now.
Okay.
But the visual is already pretty impressive. I don't even know that you need to see to understand the issue.
Yeah. When we get to the talking part, if you can't hear it, we'll just pause it and move on.
Okay.
So I'll let you know when that is.
You can hear a little bit of sound.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you should be able to hear talking.
It was completely legal as a dump plastic insertion until the 90s. And a lot of that plastic is still there because plastic lasts out there for a very long time. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller pieces. We know that over 300 species of wildlife have ingested this material. It's been reported in animals. And so as it is eaten by animals, it actually can move up the food web.
Collecting the samples by using a manta trawl. It's basically a big metal box with wings. It looks like a manta ray with a very long, about 12-foot mesh net off the back. 1, 2, 3, splash. And at the end is a piece we can take off that has collected all of the solids. Rinse it all out, filter it through another strainer, and then put it into a jar. We don't know exactly what that plastic is. We don't know where exactly it's coming from. And if we're trying to find policy and educational solutions to it, we need to know what we're targeting. We can't just ban plastic. That's not going to work. What kind of plastic is it, and what's the best policy route to reduce it? Is it a ban? Is it a fee? Is it market change? Is it education and behavior change work? What's the best way to tackle it? And until we know exactly what we're dealing with, we're not going to be able to design the right programs to address it.
Okay, so that video, clearly we started with a faraway place and then moved on to the Chesapeake Bay. So as you can see, this is an issue that's impacting us far away and right here in Howard County. These pictures are from Manila Bay, and then the second picture is from Laurel Lake last year. Which is just about 10 miles away from us. They were draining the lake to dredge. Bill mentioned that also in his presentation. And this is what they found under the lake. So, you know, clearly it's an issue everywhere, not just in the pictures that you see a lot on the news, but right here in our county as well. Okay, so now we're really gonna test my technology skills with to do a little chat while we're talking. So this year, is the 50th anniversary of Earth Day this year. And of course we had big plans this year and we had to move them all to virtual, but it still was a very significant anniversary for Earth Day. And so we really put out there this is a great time to make a pledge. We had a lot of people send in pledges to us of things they were going to do for the environment this year, things they were going to do for the earth this year. So can you tell me in the chat box, has anyone here made a pledge to do something for the 50th anniversary of Earth Day? Or Is there something that you've been thinking about doing that's good for the environment that you'd like to share with the group that we can chat about for a minute? I hear typing, so that's a good thing. Oh, all right, someone's planting trees. Great. Biking to work, I love it. Going vegan, wonderful. Last year, there was a pledge not to use straws. And I love seeing that because that, if you really think about the habits that you can change, a lot of folks thought like, oh, I can never remember my plastic bags or never remember my reusable bags. But once you get into the habit of it, it becomes very easy. So some of these changes where you're bringing your own water bottles, you're bringing your own straws, are really easy once you get into the habit. Lots of folks working with environmental groups locally. Composting, I love to see. Hopefully some of you live in the area where you can get a green bin and do the industrial composting that the county offers. There's so much more than you can do in your backyard composting. So excellent. So looks like a lot of great things that folks are doing. And if anyone would like to take the pledge, oh, sorry. My down arrow doesn't seem to be working. You can go on our website and you can still take a pledge for Earth Day. You can choose whether you want us to email that back to you so you have a way to remember your pledge, or if you'd like to share it on social media. But I'd really encourage you with the anniversary of Earth Day to think about doing something special this year. So back to plastics, how much are we talking about? I think really the term for this would be a mind-boggling amount. Most experts agree that about 8 million tons of plastic are entering our oceans each year. And the statistic here you see cited very often in scientific literature that by 2050, there's going to be more plastic than fish in the ocean, pound for pound. So really is a significant amount of plastic. And it's not just the end product, it's also what is used in the production of the plastic. Fossil fuel is really used extensively in the production and the transportation of plastics. One example is that 12 million barrels of oil are used every year to produce just the plastic bags that Americans use in a year. So if we weren't using all those plastic bags, that'd be enough to fuel 1 million cars for a year. So in a little bit later, we'll talk about renewable resources, which are a really important piece of this issue, but just that we need to remember what is involved in making the plastics and not just the end product. Okay, so we're going to chat again. Let's see if I can do this without. Okay, so this is a question. What do you think the most common type of plastic that is found in oceans is when they're doing ocean cleanups? The most common type of plastic. Do we have any guesses? Okay, water bottles, plastic bags. Okay, a lot of bags, straws. So bags is actually number 6 on the list. Straws is number 5. Any other guesses? I think I just saw straws and bags. Aha, Bill Mahoney, you're cheating. Bill knows the answer. So the top plastic item that they find in ocean cleanups is cigarette butts, which are actually 95% plastic. So that is the number 1 plastic item that they find when they're doing an ocean cleanup. So here is the full list for you all. Obviously, some of these items we can have a bigger impact on than others. We can bring our own bottles, we can bring our own utensils, we can stop using the straws. Some of the other items like the food wrappers are obviously more of a manufacturing issue. But there's a really good opportunity when you look at this list to think about what kind of reusables you can be bringing with you to reduce the amount of plastic that you're consuming. Okay. Sorry, I'm going slowly here. I seem to have trouble advancing my slides. Okay, so the next question, oh no, my answer got shown. All right, well, act like you didn't see the answer. What do you think the second most common type of plastic trash found in the Chesapeake Bay is after cigarette butts? Did everyone see the answer? Bottles, wrappers. So that, oh, sorry, my arrow will not advance. So I'm having to use my mouse and it's not cooperating. Okay, so the answer is styrofoam. So this is the trash that is collected in the Chesapeake Bay by Mr. Trash Wheel. I don't know if you all have ever seen him or if you follow Mr. Trash Wheel on social media, but he's the equipment that drives around the harbor picking up trash. So cigarette butts is also #1 in Baltimore. #2 is styrofoam. And #3 is plastic bottles. All right, so now we've got a double header, if I can advance this appropriately. Oh no. Why is styrofoam not on the Ocean Conservancy list? Anyone have any guesses? It's on the list for Baltimore, but it's not on the list for what the Ocean Conservancy collects. So it blows away from ocean settings. Any other guesses? I think that there is probably some blowing around going on. It disintegrates in the salt. Consumed. I think there's a little bit of truth to all of that. But the answer that we most commonly cite, if we can get this, is it breaks into pieces before it reaches the ocean. So it's entering our waterways, and styrofoam, I'm sure you all have seen, breaks into tiny pieces, and it's breaking up before it even gets to the ocean for the Ocean Conservancy to collect it. So that brings us to another issue with plastic is that it doesn't break down. It doesn't decompose like you commonly see with items that you compost. Plastic breaks up, not down. So that's obviously a big impact on pollution's microplastics. And over 100 years, for example, a 1 liter bottle breaks down into 6,000 pieces of microplastics. So it's in our food chain. I've seen studies, one cited 93% of bottled water contains microplastics. So we're definitely eating it and drinking it. I don't think we really know the full impact that's having on our health. We do also know about the impact on wildlife. This picture is an albatross on Midway Island. And the albatross on that island in the study, 100% of the birds had plastic in their stomachs. So it's obviously, in addition to all the pictures that we see out there of what's happening to wildlife, having a huge impact on bird populations. So it breaks up, not down. About 1 week, you eat the amount of microplastics that are in a credit card. Now, I promise there's some uplifting news coming. This is usually the point where I'm like, there is some positive information coming soon, but I've just got one more piece of information to share before we get there. And that is, obviously there's pros and cons to plastics. They're cheap, convenient, durable. Certainly there are plastics that we greatly need to use in medical settings and in other settings. But one of the big cons is the difficulty in recycling. And I think folks have probably seen this in the news as well. Some of the countries that used to accept our plastics are not accepting them anymore. And now there's a cost to plastic recycling, whereas jurisdictions used to be able to sell the recycling, they're now having to pay for disposing it. There are a lot of jurisdictions that are just not accepting plastic anymore. And there's actually a really interesting story about a group that went to a plastic recycling plant in California and put trackers in the bundled plastic that was being shipped over to China for recycling. And a few months later, they turned on the trackers and went and found those bundles of plastic, and they were buried at a farm in China. So, you know, really, I think even the plastics that we think are being recycled, there's probably a low likelihood that they actually are getting to a recycling facility. And that's really, we're talking about the recyclable plastics. And if you look at the plastics that are not recyclable, plastic utensils, clamshells, those clear plastic cups, you know, they're obviously a huge issue as well. Almost nothing that you get at Starbucks is recyclable, despite our efforts to put it in the blue bin. That's not where it ends up. And so the quote, "We can't recycle our way out of this crisis," I think is another really important one. And then I'll just touch on, before I get to the good news, I'll touch on the environmental justice piece. You know, we're really sending our waste to countries that don't have the resource to manage it. We're the consumers, and our trash is being sent to poorer countries. So I think that's just something that we need to be remembering and thinking about. And that's also a local issue. I actually toured the recycling center. I think some of you probably maybe did that as well during leadership. And when I went, I asked the foreman there, what happens to all that clear plastic that you're pulling out that you can't recycle, all the clamshells and the clear plastic cups and the utensils? And he said, they go to the incinerator in Baltimore. So that's where many of our plastics that we put in the blue bin are going. Obviously, that is resulting in air pollution in Baltimore. That's where the biggest impact is, but it's also our air, right? So it's impacting our air quality as well. Okay, now the uplifting part of the presentation. There are some great things happening out there, and especially if you look on a large scale, I love this example. The Super Bowl last year recovered 91% of its waste. They use composting stations, and they staffed them to educate people on where they should be sorting their waste. And they use aluminum instead of plastic cups. Aluminum is recyclable and highly durable. Nearly 75% of all aluminum ever produced is still in use today. So I'd really love to see continued public interest in this type of change, because this is the kind of large scale things that we can do that'll really have an impact. But we can all have an impact as well. Each individual person, we talked about bringing your own. So that first R, refusing, is really the most important one. When you can't reuse or bring a reusable, there are a lot of products that are made from renewable resources. So again, getting away from the production using the fossil fuels. So more of products that are either bamboo, cornstarch, there's sugarcane, paper. They're really easy to find. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Target. And we're really looking for things that you can compost, that you can break down, that will break down over time. And also, you know, a great example is turning off the faucet. So if your bathroom is flooding, you're not just going to stand there and try and mop up the floor. You really need to turn off the faucet to stop that flood of plastics. So lots of choices that we can all make as consumers, even something simple as choosing a powder detergent so that you can get it in a cardboard box and not in a plastic bottle. Lots of shampoo bars, toothpaste tablets that are out on the market now and easy to find. Lots of ways to wrap your food as well. So I just encourage you all to consider that, and maybe that can be your Earth Day pledge this year. So this is a brand new slide about just sort of thinking about COVID-19 and what's going on in our world. And I will say that, you know, one thing that I am definitely seeing is an increased appreciation for the value of clean air and clean water and the mental and physical health benefits that nature provides. And at the Conservancy, and I know everywhere else, we're seeing an exponential increase in trail use and people really connecting with nature and enjoying nature. We have gotten a few questions about reusable bags and disposable products and how that connects to COVID-19, and there is no link that's been established between reusable bags and the COVID-19 virus. Should you clean your bags? Yeah. Should you clean your jackets and your shoes? Yeah. I mean, we should all clean everything that we have for sure. But I think we should really also be careful. We need to obviously return to some normalcy in our lives, but we need to be careful in thinking about what sorts of environmental damage we might be causing, and is there really a good reason to kind of pull back from some of the protections that are out there for us. So one other really positive thing you can do right now, I know a lot more people are doing carry-out food. So if you request that you don't get plastic for your carry-out containers, I have found restaurants are really receptive to that. And if they can't accommodate you when you make the request, they're definitely keeping track and hearing that they're getting those requests, and we'll start making those changes in the future. So that's another positive thing that I think we all can do. And then of course you can get outside, as we like to say at the Conservancy, nature is open. So I hope that you all will take advantage of that. So I'm just going to end with this quote on sustainability, which I really think is perfect, that we really want to meet the needs of the present without compromising our children's ability to meet their needs. And that's really sort of what all this is about, what Bill's presentation was about, and even drilling down to an issue like single-use plastics, what that is about. So I think I might, based on my timer, have gone a little long. So Stacy, I'm not sure, do we have time for Q&A?
We got a little bit of time, so I'm going to jump us right in. I've been trying to keep track of what's been thrown in here. And one thing I see is anyone working on an invention or other types of containers that are better biodegradable or incinerated more safely?
Well, the thing that I'm seeing a lot more is compostable products, and the green bin in Howard County with the industrial composting, and they can handle some of these products I mentioned earlier, like the sugar cane and the bamboo. Those can all be composted in the green bin. So I really am seeing a lot more of that. There is a styrofoam ban in the state that's coming up. I think that's I think it's effective July.
Yeah, I think it's July.
Yeah, so restaurants are sort of being nudged into finding alternative products. And I know states outside of Maryland, the industrial curbside composting is very commonplace. So I think that's what you're mostly going to be seeing in the future is the ability to use products that are compostable.
So Liz asked whether the Conservancy has programs that discuss or address environmental racism in Howard County. I don't know if you can jump into that. That's
a very good question. I would say that we haven't quite yet done something on that topic, but we've been more focused. We actually just got a grant for someone to look at the history of enslaved people at both of our nature centers so that we can do some interpretive programs around that. We are really looking at the environmental justice side of many of the issues that we work on and that we educate on. But I would actually love to get some more feedback and ideas on what a program like that might look like.
Denise asked, where can they find aluminum cups, not plastic cups, but aluminum cups?
So that I have not seen aluminum cups as something, that the individual consumer can buy. I think it was more of a large scale production sort of thing. I don't know if that might be something that's available in the future because it seemed to work well at the Super Bowl. But yeah, that I think is more of a large scale production that they were doing.
Okay. Brooke answered it by saying, look at Amazon, which I'm sure you can buy everything on Amazon.
Right.
So then Katie asked a question about policy and how clearly policy would help with a lot of this. Are there bills, organizing, or policy efforts that you particularly admire?
Well, specifically on the plastics issue, we do have a plastic bag fee that is going to go into effect in Howard County in October. And there was definitely a lot of discussion about that bill. Really, the main goal was the behavior change piece. And we know that happens at that point of the transaction where there is, you know, a 5-cent fee that's presented. And the goal is really to get people to think, do I need this bag? Can I bring my own bag? And that did pass, and we were very excited about that. Any of the fees that are collected will go to a fund for environmental education, for litter cleanups. So that is something that we've done in Howard County. I think we were it was long past time. Many of the other jurisdictions in Maryland have been doing this for a long time, and many countries around the world have been doing this for a long time. So I think we were all pretty excited to see that Howard County is finally on board with that.
Excellent. So we're going to need to wrap this piece up. I do want to quickly answer Wendy Cartagena, who asked about, you know, the businesses like all the grocery stores that are saying that they won't, you know, bag your recyclable bags, they won't touch them. To be honest, Wendy, I'm just bagging my own groceries. I still bring my recyclable bags and I just bag it myself. It's not that hard, and it keeps me from coming home with more plastic bags. What if Meg, if you can turn off your screen share.
Oh, yes, I can.
Thank you.
Hi, I learned a lot today.